They laughed at the human ban. Then the professor played the forbidden footage. And the whole classroom went silent. The alien academy of Varen 7 drifted above a blue gas giant. Cadets from many worlds waited for the lesson. Professor Kelran entered without hurry. He was old with dull scales and tired eyes. Yet he stood straight like a veteran. He carried only a small data slate. He did not greet the class. He touched the controls and one word appeared. Humanity. The word hung in the air like a warning sign. For a short moment no one spoke. Then laughter spread. Sarvek, a tall Valerian cadet, leaned back with a grin. Humans are banned, he said. A Quran student joked that humans fought each other for fun. A Drathian cadet said humans could not follow rules. More voices joined. Weak. Primitive. Too emotional. One quiet student named Lyra did not laugh. She watched the professor and noticed his hands were steady. Kelran watched them until the noise slowed. Then he spoke in a calm, simple tone. Tell me what you think the human ban means. Hands rose. One cadet said it meant humans failed. Another said it meant humans were dangerous. Sarvek stood up as if the room belonged to him. If they were dangerous, then why not destroy them? Why only ban them? Are they still hiding in caves somewhere? A few students laughed again. Kelran did not argue. He walked to a sealed console beside the platform. Dark metal warning marks red lights. The nearest seats grew quiet. They knew this device opened restricted archives. It was used only when a lesson could cut like a blade. Sarvek spoke softer now. Are you going to show us human mistakes, Professor? Kelran placed his palm on the scanner. The console hummed and unlocked. He typed a long code from memory. Then he faced the class. Most schools never show this record, he said. Not because it is violent. Violence is common. They hide it because it changes how you think. And because it makes proud minds speak without care. Sarvek crossed his arms. We are not children. Kelran looked at him for a long breath. Then watch like adults. The room lights dimmed until the seats became shadows. The holo wall flickered with static and turned green. The image looked old like a damaged war camera. Numbers floated in one corner and the sound carried distant alarms. A planet appeared. Blue oceans, thin cloud city lights on the night side. The camera pulled back and space filled with shapes. Huge alien warships hung in a ring around the world. Their engines glowed like hot coals. They looked like a net closing. Kelran spoke quietly so the class could still hear the recording. Outer Rim Contact Year 1. Coalition Fleet Arrival. Expected resistance minimal. The footage moved forward. Dropships fell into the atmosphere. Human defense fire rose and failed. A shield flare blinked and vanished. Some students smiled because this matched their stories. Then small lights climbed from the surface. Dozens of craft launched fast. They were tiny compared to the cruisers. Their hulls looked patched. Their engines burned hard. They formed a narrow line and rose into the ring. Sarvek laughed once. Those are scraps. They will burn before they reach the fleet. But the craft did not turn away. They accelerated straight toward the biggest ships. The pilots did not hide behind the planet. They went into open space where every gun could see them. A coalition cruiser fired. A bright flash filled the screen. One human craft took the hit. Half its body broke apart in flame. Yet it kept moving. It rammed the cruiser and exploded. The cruiser shattered into spinning metal. Pieces struck nearby ships and the enemy line bent out of shape. The classroom went silent. Cadets stared at the holo wall. Sarvek sat down without speaking. A Drathian cadet gripped his seat arms. A Quran student held her breath. Lyra felt her pulse in her throat. More human craft followed. They did not scatter. They drove forward again and again. They fired missiles at close range. They struck engines and hangars. They aimed for the places that would stop landings. They fought like they expected to die. And they did not care. Kelran paused the footage on a frame of a burning human ship. A small shape of fire flying into darkness. He faced the class. "This is where the ban begins," he said. "Not with weakness. With a lesson the galaxy never forgot." He pressed play again. The recording jumped to the next file. A title flashed for a breath. Retaliation Protocol First Wave. No one spoke. And every student understood the real lesson had only started. The next file began and no one moved. The holo wall showed a new view of the same planet. But now the camera was closer and lower. It looked as if it was inside the enemy fleet. Ships filled the screen like mountains of metal. Alarm lights flashed across their hulls. Smoke drifted from broken sections. The sound was harsh and full of warning tones. Professor Kelran stood behind the console. His voice stayed calm. "This is Retaliation Protocol First Wave. Humans called it the Hammer. It was their answer when a colony was attacked." Sarvek tried to speak, but his throat was dry. He looked at Lyra for a moment. She did not look back. She only watched the screen. On the footage a human command signal appeared as a simple pulse. No fancy words. No long speech. Just a short burst from the surface. And then the human ships changed their pattern. They stopped ramming. They spread out like a net. Small craft moved into empty space between larger cruisers. They flew close to the hulls where big guns could not track. They used the enemy ships as cover. Then thin beams of light cut into sensor arrays. One by one enemy scanners went dark. A Drathian cadet whispered that it was impossible. Humans were not supposed to be precise. But the footage showed exact strikes again and again. Each beam hit the same weak points. Each missile burst near the same vents. The human pilots were not wild. They were focused. The coalition fleet tried to pull back. But the humans did not chase the ships. Instead they chased the doors. They targeted hangar bays. They destroyed dropships before they could launch. They took away the invader ground force. And the planet below began to breathe again. The camera shifted to the surface. Fires still burned in the cities. Towers had fallen. Streets were broken. Yet human rescue craft moved through smoke. They landed under enemy fire. They carried civilians into shelters. They made safety while the battle still raged. Sarvek lowered his eyes. In Valerian War School's sacrifice was planned and measured. This looked different. This looked like a promise. The footage returned to space. A new group of human ships appeared. Larger than the first wave. They arrived from behind the gas giant Shadow. Their engines were dim. They had hidden their approach. And when they revealed themselves, it was too late for the coalition to form a wall. Human ships fired long rods of metal. Not bright lasers. Not fancy plasma. Just dark spears. They punched through armor and kept going. 2 cruisers split open like fruit. The coalition fleet tried to answer with heavy fire. But their aim was blind. Their sensors were broken. Their formation was shaking. Professor Kelran paused the recording for a breath. He looked across the rows of seats. "Do you see why this footage is forbidden?" No one answered. He continued. "The galaxy wants you to believe humans were chaotic. It is easier to ban a joke than a storm. But humans were a storm with a plan." Sarvek finally spoke. His voice was small. "Professor, how many of them died?" Kelran did not turn away from the screen. "Many," he said. "They always paid a price. And they always chose to pay it." The file played on. The coalition fleet began to retreat. Ships jumped to faster space one by one. Some never made it. Human craft stayed on their tails. Not to destroy all of them, but to send a message. They let a few ships escape. The camera followed one damaged cruiser limping away. And a human signal broadcast reached it. The translation ran across the holo wall in simple words. "Leave. Do not return. Next time we come for your home." The classroom felt colder. A Quran student pressed her hands to her mouth. A Drathian cadet sat rigid. Lyra noticed that even Professor Kelran looked tense now. Sarvek stared at the words. He remembered the jokes he had made. He remembered how easy it was to laugh at a banned name. Now that name felt heavy like gravity. Kelran switched to another angle. A council chamber appeared. Alien leaders stood in a circle. Their faces looked sharp with fear. A voice from the chamber spoke over the footage. Containment measures must begin at once. The image froze. The seats creaked as several cadets leaned closer. The air vents whispered cold. Lyra felt a new fear not of humans but of the council. As if the galaxy had been lying for a long time. Kelran said the next part of the record is not a battle. It is a decision that changed the galaxy. And it begins with a secret meeting. He moved his hand toward the console. And the students leaned forward without breathing. The council chamber appeared on the holo wall and the class forgot to blink. It was not a battlefield, it was a room of smooth stone and cold light. 12 leaders stood in a circle, each wearing the seal of a great empire. Their faces were hard, but their eyes carried fear. Someone in that room wanted the future to remember every word. Professor Kelran spoke in a low voice. This meeting happened after the First Contact War. It was the moment the galaxy chose the ban. Sarvek sat very still. He watched the leaders on the screen like they were judges. Lyra stared too and felt her stomach tighten. A Valerian counselor stepped forward. Humans are animals, he said. They throw themselves into fire and call it victory. If they spread, we will face endless war. A Quran leader answered. They learn too fast. They steal our tactics and improve them in weeks. A Drathian leader lifted a clawed hand. We should strike now, he said. Wipe their worlds before they grow. Then a small figure in grey robes spoke from the shadows. This voice was calm and old. No, you will not. Because you have already tried to crush them and you failed. And if you try again, you will unite them. The leaders fell quiet. The old voice continued. Humans do not surrender when cornered. They turn the corner into a weapon. You will not be fighting one fleet. You will be fighting a species that believes loss is a lesson. The recording shifted. It showed new footage from the same war. This time it was the second year. The coalition returned with double the ships. Their plan was simple. Take the colonies fast and cut the human supply lines. Force the humans to beg for peace. The holo wall showed human space from far away. Small dots of light marked colonies. Lines showed trade routes. Coalition arrows pointed at the weak edges. The next clip began inside a human command room. It looked rough and crowded. Humans stood over simple screens and paper maps. Their officers looked tired. Yet their eyes were clear. One commander pointed at the enemy arrows. Then he traced a new line through empty space. The room moved at once. The footage jumped back to space. Human ships were not waiting near the colonies. They were leaving them. They pulled back as if they were afraid. The coalition surged forward. Leaders on the screen smiled. The trap seemed to work. Then the humans disappeared. Whole groups vanished from sensors. The coalition captains searched and found nothing. The answer came when the footage changed angle. A dark region of space filled the screen. No stars, no signals, only emptiness. Then a human fleet appeared out of that darkness. Engines igniting all at once. They had been hiding near a gravity storm. A place where normal sensors could not read. The humans attacked the coalition supply ships first. They did not chase the big cruisers. They cut the fuel and the food. They burned the repair docks. They shattered the cargo lines. Within hours the invasion fleet became hungry and slow. The coalition tried to regroup. But every time they formed a wall the humans hit the sides. Every time they chased a human group another group struck behind them. It was like fighting smoke with a sword. Professor Kelran paused the recording. This is why they feared humanity, he said. Humans did not only fight with courage. They fought with understanding. They knew what an empire needs to live. Sarvek whispered to himself. We were taught they were chaos. Around him no one argued now. Several students looked away as if they felt shame. Lyra watched Professor Kelran and saw pain in his eyes. As if he had carried this secret for too long. The footage returned to the council chamber. The leaders argued now. Some wanted extermination. Some wanted surrender. Some wanted peace talks. The old robed figure spoke again. You want to win with power. But humans win with time. Each battle teaches them. Each wound hardens them. If you continue this war, you will build the strongest enemy the galaxy has ever seen. Silence fell in the chamber. One by one the leaders looked away. They knew the truth. The Valerian counselor spoke. Then what do we do? The old figure answered. We contain them. We cut their roads. We hide their story. We make the name humanity a warning, not a legend. In the classroom the holo wall dimmed. A new label flashed on the archive list. Containment Directive and Education Filter. Professor Kelran faced the cadets. And he said the next file will show how the ban was enforced. And what the galaxy paid to keep humans out. The archive opened the Containment Directive file and the holo wall filled with maps. Human space appeared as a cluster of bright points. Then red lines formed around it like a cage. Lyra felt a slow chill. This was not a simple ban. It was a plan built like a prison. Professor Kelran stood beside the console. His voice stayed steady. Containment was not only a border. It was a story the galaxy told itself. And a story the galaxy forced on others. The footage shifted to a council briefing room. Officers pointed at the map. One officer spoke with cold certainty. We will not defeat humans by war. We will defeat them by distance. We will cut trade. We will block routes. We will erase their name from schools. We will remove their history from public archives. And we will punish any who try to bring them back. Sarvek stared at the cage lines. His hands rested on his knees. He did not look proud anymore. He looked smaller. As if the galaxy had tricked him and he had helped it. The holo wall showed the first step. Coalition fleets built a ring of deep space stations. They placed them at jump points and gravity wells. Each station carried mines and sensor arrays. Any ship that tried to cross would be tracked, stopped, or erased. Then the second step appeared. Diplomats visited neutral worlds. They offered gifts and threats. Join the ban and gain protection. Break it and lose everything. One by one the neutral systems signed. They did not want humans near their borders. They did not want the council near their borders either. So they accepted the cage. Kelran spoke quietly. The ban spread because fear is fast. And because the council made fear profitable. The footage moved to a classroom much like this one. But smaller. A young teacher pointed at a chart on the wall. It showed humans as a failed species. Primitive, dangerous, unstable. Students laughed the same way Sarvek had laughed. Lyra watched and felt a strange anger. It was like watching her own room in a mirror. The archive then showed a library purge. Drones removed human records from shelves. They wiped data crystals. They deleted images. They replaced them with warnings. Do not access human content. Do not speak the human name. Report any human signal. A Quran student in the room whispered. They made it illegal to know. No one answered. Everyone kept watching. The next clip was darker. It showed a small ship crossing near the containment line. A trader vessel from a minor world. It carried medicine and food. The captain said on record that he only wanted to help a human colony. He said the humans had saved his brother years ago. He said he owed them. The station commander answered with a simple order. Detain the ship. Erase the logs. Mark the captain as a traitor. The trader ship was pulled into the station. The footage ended before the punishment. But the message was clear. Compassion became a crime when it pointed toward humans. Kelran paused the holo wall. Containment required silence, he said. And silence required fear. So the council made examples. Sarvek turned his head toward the professor. His voice was thin. Did it work? Did humans stay inside their cage? Kelran did not answer right away. He played the next file. The holo wall showed human space again. But this time the points of light moved. Human colonies shifted deeper. Routes changed. Signals became quiet. For a moment it looked like humans had accepted the cage. Then a new clip appeared. A human shipyard hidden inside an asteroid field. Workers built ships with no flags. No markings. Only dark hulls. They tested engines without loud signals. They trained pilots in silence. Lyra leaned forward. Humans were not sleeping. They were adapting. The archive jumped to a battle near the containment line. A coalition patrol found a human ship. Small and dark. It did not run. It waited. Then it released a swarm of tiny drones. The drones blinded the patrol sensors. And the human ship slipped through the gap. Not with force. With patience. The patrol fired into darkness and hit nothing. The recording ended with a simple note. Unknown human vessel escaped. Containment integrity questioned. A Drathian cadet in the class shifted in his seat. His heavy armor creaked. He whispered that the cage had holes. Lyra felt her heart beat harder. Because holes meant contact. And contact meant memory. Kelran opened another file. Education filter enforcement. The holo wall showed propaganda channels. News reports calling humans monsters. Stories that blamed humans for old wars. Songs that turned human courage into madness. The council did not only block roads. They poisoned curiosity. Sarvek looked down. He understood now that his jokes were not his own. They were planted. They were taught. They were repeated. Kelran finally answered Sarvek's question. Did it work, he said. It worked enough. For a time. But humans are not a species that accepts a cage forever. The holo wall dimmed. A new label appeared. Recent signal report classified. Timestamp modern era. Lyra felt her breath stop. Modern era meant now. Not history. Not old fear. But a living problem. Kelran placed his hand over the console. And he said the next file is why I broke the rules today. Because the ban is no longer holding. And the galaxy may soon hear the human name again. The next file was not old war footage. It was a report from the present. And that scared them more than any battle. The holo wall went dark for a breath. Then new text appeared in pale green. Recent signal report classified. Origin unknown. Distance beyond containment line. Professor Kelran did not look at the students. He looked at the console like it could bite. His voice was quiet. This is why I broke Academy rules today. Because the human ban is not holding the way the council promised. Sarvek swallowed hard. He wanted to laugh again to escape the fear. But his body refused. Lyra sat still and listened. She could feel the whole room leaning forward without moving. The report played like a short documentary. First it showed a map of the old containment border. Then it zoomed out. Farther. Deeper into dark space. Until the map became only a small bright mark. The voice of a council analyst spoke over the image. We detected a repeating signal pattern. It does not match any known empire. It repeats in cycles that suggest intelligent intent. It was found near the silent corridor beyond human space. The analyst paused. Then added one line that froze the classroom. Probable human origin. Some students made a small sound of shock. A Quran cadet shook her head. A Drathian cadet clenched his hands. Sarvek stared at the words like they were a blade. Kelran turned to the class. You asked why the council chose a ban. You thought it was mercy. It was not mercy. It was fear dressed as order. He walked slowly between the first rows. He spoke like he was teaching a child the shape of fire. After the first wars the council learned a simple truth. Humans could be beaten in a battle, but they could not be broken in a war. He stopped near Sarvek's seat. They lost ships. They lost cities. They lost whole colonies. And still they fought. And they learned from every wound. They copied enemy tools. They improved enemy tactics. They turned enemy strength into their own. The holo wall changed to an older council document. A plan called projection risk. It showed curves rising over time. Human population growth. Human industrial growth. Human fleet rebuilding speed. Human adaptation rate. The lines climbed faster than any other species line. The council voice returned. If humanity is allowed to expand unchecked, they will dominate border systems within 2 generations. They will challenge core worlds within 4. They will not seek peace on our terms. They will seek safety on theirs. Lyra felt cold. The council did not ban humans because humans were evil. The council banned them because humans were becoming strong. Sarvek whispered. But they could have made peace. Kelran nodded once. Some tried. But trust died quickly. Because the coalition attacked first. And humans never forgot first blood. The report showed a list of council actions. Trade blockade. Jump gate denial. Education filter. Language replacement. Archive deletion. Signal suppression. Punishment for contact. It was not just a border wall. It was a clean cut across the mind of the galaxy. Kelran spoke again. They wanted future students like you to laugh. Because laughter makes a threat feel small. And a small threat does not need questions. Sarvek looked down. His face was tight. He understood he had been trained to mock something he did not know. The holo wall shifted back to the modern signal. A thin wave pattern moved across the screen. Then the analyst spoke. The signal carries a repeating marker. It looks like a greeting. Or a warning. We attempted translation using old human fragments from sealed archives. The waveform paused. And text appeared slowly under it. The line was simple and made the room hold its breath. We are still here. No one moved. No one breathed loud. Lyra felt her heart hit her ribs like a fist. Sarvek's eyes widened. His mouth opened but no words came. Kelran let the sentence stay on screen. Then he said, humans did not vanish. They did not die out. They did not forget. They waited. They built quietly. They watched the border. And now something has changed. The report continued. The analyst spoke again. The signal repeats every cycle. Each time it adds a second short burst. We do not understand that part. But it resembles a location tag. The screen zoomed into a star chart. A point blinked near the edge of Academy space. Not inside the old containment ring. But close enough to make it feel real. A Quran cadet whispered that it could be a trap. A Drathian cadet said the council would send warships. Someone else said the academy should be evacuated. Fear spread like a silent gas. Kelran raised a hand. Enough, he said. Listen to the real danger. He walked back to the console. The lights from the screen cut hard shadows on his face. The danger is not that humans might attack. The danger is that the galaxy might panic. And panic makes leaders do terrible things. He pressed another command. A final page appeared. Council Emergency Recommendation. Prepare containment reinforcement. Authorize preemptive action if contact confirmed. Lyra felt her stomach drop. Preemptive action meant strike first again. The same mistake that created the ban. Sarvek finally found his voice. Are humans coming back? Kelran looked at the students. And for the first time his calm face showed worry. I do not know, he said. But I know this. A species that says we are still here does not say it for no reason. The holo wall flickered. The lights in the hall dimmed again on their own. A soft alarm sound came from the academy systems, not from the archive. A new alert line appeared at the edge of the screen. External sensor event. Unknown object entering local space. Every student turned toward the ceiling as if they could see through it. Kelran froze with his hand on the console. And Lyra realized the next lesson would not be in a classroom.